I guess for whatever it's worth, since I'm really not an avid cook, as you guys have already figured out, okay, don't broil a turkey. I've had a fried one before, but I don't think so on Thanksgiving. But a broiled turkey doesn't quite get it. And we were getting opinions and we got the wrong one. And that
I've heard of a lot of things. I've heard of turkeys being cooked a lot of different ways. But that's the first one. I've never heard of anyone broiling a turkey.
Well, now you have. I told you, pal. You're talking about the same guy that once upon a time when I was in college, okay, tried to make a microwave grilled cheese sandwich for 4 minutes, and I could have taken that sandwich and broken a triple pane window with it. And, you know, if you want a few dentures and you want to knock out a few teeth, go ahead and make a grilled cheese sandwich in the microwave for 4 minutes, and I guarantee your dentist bill will be pretty high too. So when I got real, Xavier, and I realized I wasn't very good when it came to cooking, what ended up happening was I would cover a lot of Detroit Lions Thanksgiving games, and you know what? Since the early 1930s, they were cooking it right. I was glad to be a part of that tradition for a lot of years. And Thanksgiving back in Detroit was good because we also had the Thanksgiving Day Parade in downtown Detroit off of Woodward. So those were pretty good. And if I wasn't able to cook anything, one of my favorite places to go out there and eat Thanksgiving dinner was over at the Cracker Barrel. Ever had Thanksgiving at the Cracker Barrel?
No, I haven't, but that's something that I'm going to have to check off my bucket list because I am a huge fan of the Cracker Barrel in general anyway.
Well, let me tell you something, Xavier. Candy and I went ahead and broke you into Culver's, for God's sakes, you know. We're not going to steer you wrong. You're not going to go on a diet eating cheese curds or custard and all that, but Cracker Barrel makes a great spread. In fact, I've gone there a few different times. Cracker Barrel, my grandma Sophie and I used to go there a lot many years ago. And then I went with my ex-wife, Susan. We went to Cracker Barrel all the way out in Yuma, Arizona. And, of course, I've had Cracker Barrel out here in Florida. And I don't care where you have Cracker Barrel, pal. It's a great spread. And, you know, it's worth the money, too. I'm telling you, Cracker Barrel's a good place. Loved it. Fantastic. And, of course, I've spent Thanksgiving in lots of different towns, too. Arizona, I spent it. I went out to Detroit and here in Florida. You know, I always sometimes like to go to holidays and see how the other parts of the country celebrate them. But I knew I was going to throw you off, Xavier, about broiling a turkey. I could have, I'll tell you what, I joke around about it with my best friend all the time about it. It's a great moment. And ironically, that weekend in Kansas City, Xavier, I covered a Thanksgiving weekend game when the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, were playing the Denver Broncos at the time, or Seattle Seahawks, one of those. And it was neat to be able to cover a Thanksgiving weekend game out in Kansas City. And then once upon a time, I asked Jerry Jones about the Thanksgiving tradition, about how the Lions and the Cowboys deserved it, and Kansas City didn't want them to have it no more, the Hunts. And you know what? Jerry Jones told me there's no way, if I have anything to say about it, that the Detroit Lions will not host that game. They wanted it before anybody else. We got it. So what do you think the NFL did? They added the late night game, and that's that. NFL owns Thanksgiving.
And it's one of the greatest things that they did. Because I'll go ahead and tell you right now, Scott, here's my Thanksgiving tradition.
Okay.
I'll take the dinner, and then I'm kicking back and I'm watching football for the remainder of the evening.
Right.
You know, somewhere in between halftime and the break of the games, I'll have me some dessert, or I'll go back and I'll have another entree of dinner. But it's food. No, let me put this in its proper context, because this is truly how I feel about it.
Okay.
It's usually family, of course, food, and football. And that's not going to change for me. Now, this is going to be a bit of a different Thanksgiving for me, because you talked about spending Thanksgiving in a lot of different places.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be my first Thanksgiving away from home. I am actually going to be spending Thanksgiving this year in Florida. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how this will go down.
Who are you spending it with?
I'm going to be at work, so I'm going to be spending it with my coworkers.
Okay.
But I'm still looking forward to seeing how this day in particular will go, because I believe, Scott, the first dose of reality I had that, yeah, you're professional now, you're not a kid anymore, had to be the 4th of July.
Okay.
It had to be the 4th of July for me because I'm so used to getting up on the 4th of July and firing up the barbecue and putting some things on the grill and watching baseball and just enjoying everyone's company. And I was watching a little baseball, but there was no firing up on the grill. None whatsoever. So that's when I first got my real dose of welcome to the adulthood reality check right there for me. Now, there have been a few other moments before that, but when we're talking about holidays, that had to be the first one for me.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how this Thanksgiving will go. I'm very optimistic that it's going to be a great Thanksgiving anyway, but I'm looking forward to seeing what this Thanksgiving will be like for me in particular, being the first one away from my family. Like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go. But let's get back to some of these Thanksgiving dishes really quickly. You
Sure.
talked about the stuffing. Of course, now the stuffing is something that I have to limit myself on because I don't really know anyone who makes bad stuffing. I'm sure that there are people out there who do, but I don't know anyone who does. And I try to keep myself not so big on bread and grains so much, but that's one day of the year, Scott, I'll sit here and say right now, you might can catch me eating a whole pan of stuffing if you're not careful. Because I'm with you when it comes to the stuffing.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to the stuffing and when it comes to the potato salad and when it comes to my vegetables, I'm not very picky in particular. I love the green beans. I love the collard greens and maybe cabbages as well. And I know that that's very rare for people to do cabbages on Thanksgiving, but I've had a few experiences where that'll happen. I'm not very particular on my vegetables just simply because I like to make sure that I get them in my body anyway. But when it comes to the stuffing and the potato salad and the Cornish game hens, yeah, those are some things that I have to make sure that I limit myself on because I know that we have a habit as Americans of Thanksgiving is the day where I'm going to stuff myself and I'm not going to have a care in the world. I try not to live like that. I really do. But when you're talking about good stuffing and you're talking about good potato salad and you're talking about Cornish game hen, for me, the rules might go out of the window. It's just the way it is.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I love that macaroni and cheese, though. My wife will tell you how much she loves it. But the family is definitely unbelievable. There are times that I've actually, depending on where I was at, had Chinese food on Thanksgiving. But again, when you're not away from your family and you know who you're with or whatever, I've had it. Not very often, but every now and then I've done it. But it doesn't matter where you have Thanksgiving dinner, what you really have, as long as you're with somebody that you want to be with or being by yourself or whatever. You know, it doesn't make any difference. You spend it the way you used to you spend it. I remember when I was by myself for the first time on July 4th, I'll never forget watching Breakfast at Wimbledon, and Dick Enberg was your announcer, and it was neat. I felt like I was with somebody back then. And then I would cover the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, cover soccer team back in the day. It was pretty neat, you know. But, you know, it just depends. It's a great American holiday, a tradition. They've done a lot of good things with the parades, not only the one in Detroit, but the Macy's Day Parade. And, you know, and to me, I just think it's an incredible holiday. And, you know, everybody gets a piece of that action. Think about it now. You have college games that weekend. College football takes a lot of things. And I believe this is in the National Hockey League. I think they play a game that weekend. Everybody can get a piece of that Thanksgiving sports appetite.
Well, I'll definitely tell you right now, even though I'll be working, I'll be tuned into the NFL action for the day. There's no doubt about that. I'll be tuned into the Detroit Lions. I'll be tuned into the Dallas Cowboys. And by the time I get home, I'll definitely be tuned into the NBC Thursday night Thanksgiving football game of the evening.
Right.
I don't know who's playing yet, I haven't had a chance to look at the schedule that deep. But even if it is possibly the Cleveland Clowns, I'll still watch. Just simply because those are my three F's. Those are the three most important things
Right.
on Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to break that tradition as long as I can help it.
Well, what can I tell you? That's. But I agree with you. Football's always been it for me. The Pontiac Silverdome used to be like my second home. I love that place. I hated to see it go down. I think to this day the biggest mistake that was ever made, although it worked out because they have everybody downtown now, but don't tell that to a guy that lived, that was spending 10 to 12 hours a day at the Silverdome on game day. They used to spend time at the NFL draft. It was just an incredible time back then. I just loved covering Thanksgiving. I love being on the field, talking to the players. I used to love watching the, ceremony after the game, giving the trophy to whatever network was participating in it. It was just, to me, and I got to tell you though, for the Detroit Lions, it's good because they're never really on national TV except for one time of the year, unless they're much, much better. So that was their opportunity to get some national exposure, and they're the ones who made the Thursday games famous. That now everybody plays on Thursday. Without the Lions and the Cowboys, Thursday night football wouldn't even be talked about.
Now, you brought up covering Thanksgiving games, and I can tell you for a fact those are some things that I have on my bucket list. And I know that as long as God is willing, I'm going to get those opportunities to do that as well. But I have a couple of questions for you in regards to that.
Sure.
By you being a veteran journalist and being in the press, and you said you were on the sideline, as journalists, especially when we go to professional games and college games for coverage, sometimes high school games as well, even though for me that's usually been rare. This just started happening when I came and moved down to Florida.
Right.
But what we do know is that the press gets treated very well in the aspect of, we're not going to let you guys go hungry. There's going to be food available for you in the press. So my question to you is, what is a cuisine like on Thanksgiving for the press who are covering these football games?
Well, if you don't roll out of there like a beach ball, you're in trouble. It's good, especially on Thanksgiving. There's a ton of turkey, pal. There are times when I used to go ahead and have. You want to talk about a turkey holic on one day? I would lead off with the Lions. Okay, had their turkey, and I used to eat really, really good there. And then after that, I'd go home to be with my family, and then this happened in Detroit, by the way. And then I would go up to another friend's house, and they invited me, so I was able to spend time 3 different places. It was unbelievable. They treat you really good. It's just unbelievable. Too hard to describe, but they treat you really good. And for me, nowadays you wouldn't be able to get on the field anymore because of insurance regulations. But back then they were a little bit more relaxed about writers being on there, not photographers. You know what I mean? So it was different, but they feed you good. I don't know. Have you ever covered a sporting event? A professional sporting event, per se?
Yes, I have. Actually, I can tell you exactly when it was. Not the exact day, but I can tell you the month and the year that it happened. Okay. November 2013. I'm a young 17-year-old journalist. I'm an intern with the Covington News in Covington, Georgia. Okay. And I walk into my internship one day, and my sports editor, who at the time was the person who I was directly being supervised by, he walks over to me and he says, I have a bit of a surprise for you. Come over to my desk real quick. And I go, okay. And he's like, how you feel about going to the Falcons game on Sunday? I was like, I would love it. But I didn't exactly know where he was going with this. So he pulls out this press pass for the Falcons game, and they were actually playing the Seattle Seahawks. This is the same season that the Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl, too. And he's like, yeah, the Falcons play the Seahawks on Sunday. You can go in, you can get some press coverage, you can sit in the press box, and you use the pass, and you go downstairs afterwards if you'd like to and interview some of the players. So November 2017 was the first time I covered a professional sporting event. The Seattle Seahawks